In 1970, one film quietly redefined the American road movie genre. A film about a man running away, not from the law, but from himself. This is the story of 5 Easy Pieces, its production, and its critical reception, highlighting why it remains a landmark in cinematic history. Five Easy Pieces is the next film by Bob Rafelson, and it is widely regarded as one of the seminal works of the American New Hollywood era. The film offers a stark and melancholic, yet deeply human portrayal of a man at odds with himself and the world around him. The film was shot on $1.6 million budget, largely on location, with scenes in California's oil fields and the rugged landscapes of Washington state. This naturalistic approach contributed to the film's raw authenticity and visually highlighted Bobby's sense of isolation. The production also reflected the collaborative spirit of the New Hollywood movement, directors, writers, and actors working closely together, often with creative freedom not typical of studio-dominated productions. This allowed for the film's blend of scripted drama and improvisational moments, which lended an enduring sense of spontaneity. The screenplay was written by Bob Rafelson and Carole Eastman under the pseudonym of Adrien Joyce. It is likely based, in part, on director himself. The first draft of the script, before it was revised by Eastman, was described as autobiographical, and many of the clothes Nicholson wears in the film are Rafelson's own, including a black turtleneck he had owned since his college days at Dartmouth. As for the title, the film was titled after the piano exercise book of 5 classical pieces, which subtly nods to Bobby's musical past and the fragmented nature of his life. A quiet reminder of Bobby's lost talent and the fragments of a life he can't piece together. At its core, 5 Easy Pieces is a character study centered on Bobby Dupea, played by Jack Nicholson in one of his most iconic roles. Having abandoned his career as a pianist, Robert works in oil fields and maintains a relationship with a waitress Rayette. During an accidental meeting with his sister, who is also a pianist, he learns that his father is seriously ill and decides to visit the family. Together with Rayette, he heads to the family estate on an island in the northwest of the USA. There, he begins an affair with Catherine, his brother's student and potential fiancée, and clashes with the family, which refuses to accept his decision to abandon his musical career. The screenplay deliberately rejected the criteria of plot tension as a structural dominant, allowing the film to develop as an observational study of character. The consequence of this approach is the fragmentation of dialogue, episodic digressions, and the dominance of music and visual elements over the plot as a whole. This kind of storytelling comes to the forefront in the famous diner scene, where Bobby tries and fails to order a plain omelet without a toast. Thus, the film reveals a man deeply discontented and emotionally restless. The moment at the end of the diner scene, where Bobby sweeps all the glasses off the table, after arguing with the waitress, was inspired by Jack Nicholson doing this himself. Just before the diner scene, there was another scene that also contributes to abolishing the opposition of main and supporting characters. When Bobby picks up 2 stranded women headed for Alaska, one of them out of nowhere launches into a monologue about the evils of consumerism. The interesting fact is that Jack Nicholson wanted Janis Joplin to have the part of that woman, but it was never offered to her. Through this kind of episodic encounters, where movie follows Bobby's journey and his refusal to fit in, the film becomes a profound meditation on identity, belonging, and the cost of personal freedom. One of the strongest moments in the film must be the scene where Bobby plays the piano, where camera slowly pans the room showing photos of Bobby's family and childhood. And then, an honest emotion ridiculed by Bobby, just further distancing himself. And there is the ending itself, one of the best ever made, where Bobby abandons Rayette at a gas station, leaving his wallet and car behind. He hitches a ride north with a truck driver, suggesting an endless journey away from all ties and toward an unknown, and perhaps empty future. So, in the end, Bobby chooses the road again, leaving behind love, family, and even his own name. An eternal search for something that may not exist. And in that search, the film found its truth. And all that, by mostly using one long shot depicting the protagonist escaping from all relationships that tied him to the story, but also from the movie itself, thereby positioning him multiple times as an outsider. The interesting fact is that Carole Eastman's original ending had Dupea driving his car off a bridge. Rayette survives the crash, but he does not. And now about the character itself, a former classical pianist turned oil rig worker, drifting between two worlds, whose rootless blue-collar existence belies his privileged youth as a piano prodigy. Nicholson's performance in this role became a defining moment in his career, transforming him from a promising actor to a cultural icon of the era. He emerged as an icon of the alienated antihero, and a star of the American cinema of the 1970s. His acting comes to the forefront in the scene where Bobby has long monologue with his father and is confronting the past he tried to bury. But that doesn't bring him peace, and instead reveals the profound disconnect between who he was and who he has become. Nicholson would further prove himself and his talent in films such as One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, directed by Milos Forman, The Chinatown, directed by Roman Polanski, The Shining, directed by Stanley Kubrick, and The Batman from 1989, directed by Tim Burton. Upon release, Five Easy Pieces received critical acclaim and quickly established itself as a classic of modern American cinema. Critics praised its unflinching portrayal of disaffection and existential drift, as well as Nicholson's compelling and nuanced performance. The performances of Karen Black and Susan Anspach were also praised. Rafelson's drama is described by Roger Ebert as a blend of the personal films of John Cassavetes and independent cinema, whose poetics dominated American cinematography in the 1970s. He also called it one of the best American films of its time, highlighting its honesty and emotional depth. The film received Academy Award nominations for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Original Screenplay. It was also inducted into the National Film Registry of the Library of Congress. The diner scene, in particular, has become emblematic of Bobby's frustration and the impossibility of reconciling personal desires with external expectations. In the end, Five Easy Pieces remains a defining work of the new Hollywood era, notable for its spare, realistic style and deep character study. Through Bobby Dupea's story, it captures a timeless sense of restlessness and estrangement that continues to resonate with audiences. Its innovative production and critical acclaim have secured its place among the most influential films in American cinema history.